Brenda Collins had a face that could launch 1,000 ships and a body that could launch a whole fleet. She was so out of my league that she could have lived in another solar system. I was, as someone once said, a nobody who wasn't even called Joe. My name is Bert Stokes. Who names their kid Bert these days? So I nicknamed myself Stokey. I knew Brenda in high school. Everyone knew her. She was the typical queen, prom queen, party queen, queen of everything. The beauty queen of Stoddard City back then. You know what I mean. We met, if you can call it that, during our senior year at Smith College. Back then, laptops were the new thing, and hers had broken. They called the computer genius Stokey. He came over, they gave him the computer, and told him to leave and not come back until that thing was fixed. Of course, I wasn't surprised or anything. I knew where I stood in the world, and she knew where she stood. But her attitude was disgusting and infuriating. Never anger a computer genius, and don't get involved with our company. The next day, I went back and knocked on her door. This was before cell phones. She opened the door, talking on a landline with one of those 3-foot spiral cords. Without interrupting the conversation, which appeared to be about the wrong product being used at a salon in the mall, she reached over to grab her laptop. Looking her in the eyes, I held the laptop until she said into the receiver, "Listen, I have to go. Call me in 5 minutes." She clearly didn't think it would take so long to get rid of a computer geek. "Did you fix it?" she asked me in a contemptuous and impatient voice. "Yes, I fixed it. I had to replace the hypothumic Mistafastor. Now everything works. $350. All I did was delete the accumulated junk, reformat the disk, and copy the contents of her hard drive to my backup so I could laugh about it next week. I also cleared her browser history. Lots of porn sites. She seemed to have a thing for FFM. Many of those links could have been slowing down the computer, and they were. I saved these addresses in a text file, emailed them to myself. At the time, I was one of the few people who knew how to use email, deleted them, and returned the computer to its normal speed. So it cost me nothing. However, her attitude cost her the aforementioned $350. "What? I never agreed to that amount." "Right. You just shoved the money in my hand and said, 'Fix it,' like a feudal lord with a serf. I fixed it as you asked." I emphasized that word sarcastically. "And now you have a choice. Either you pay me, or I'll sell the computer to cover my expenses. It's a good one, and whoever buys it will undoubtedly find some interesting information on it." Stamping her foot and looking up at the sky, she opened the door and waved me in. She wrote a check and handed it to me, expecting me to return the laptop. Instead of returning it, I took the check, turned around, and headed for the door. Wasn't there a movie about revenge by nerds? I hadn't seen it, but this was my version, and I liked it very much. You had your fun doll, and I had mine. "Hey, I paid you. Give me my computer back." "Sure, as soon as the check clears." The steam pressure in her head exploded. "What? You pathetic little freak? You think the check isn't valid?" "I suspect the check is fine, for now. But your shitty attitude isn't. Who's to say you won't block the check when you turn on the computer and see that it works?" I had nothing to lose, and I had no motivation to impress her. She already thought I was a worm, so how much lower could I go? I wasn't going to put up with her humiliating barbs, and everyone would be better off if she realized that. It wasn't often I got to have fun at the expense of people like her, and I was going to enjoy it. "Who are you to insult me like that?" "Fair question." I tried my best not to laugh. "I'll tell you who I am. My name is Bert Stokes, and I know a lot more about computers than you do. That entitles me to a little respect because I've earned it. Sure, I'm not rich like you, and I'm not handsome, but those aren't the only things that deserve respect. I am who I am. Who are you? I see a spoiled bitch in you. Your money and your looks are your right. You've never had to work, and you look down on ordinary people and make fun of them. You didn't even bother to ask my name. You just shoved the computer in my hands, slammed the door, and said, 'Fix it.' You owe me $350 for that." While she gasped for air like a fish out of water, I continued in my impassive voice. And if you continue to talk nonsense, the price will be $400. That was several decades ago, and I have yet to see a face that expressed such shock and respect as hers did that day. Perhaps all the people she dealt with were ready to fall to their knees before her to earn her favor, or maybe they were just like her. Obviously, no one had the courage to respond as quickly and decisively as I did. Whatever the reason, she understood, and her attitude changed in an instant. "I'm sorry, Bert, right?" "You're right, and I apologize. I wasn't myself and I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" It's amazing what a threat to pay an extra $50 can do. The speed and scale of her change caught me off guard, but not enough to make me forget what was important. "As soon as I have $350 in cash, I'll think about it." "Fair enough. How about I go to the bank to get the money, and you come back in the evening, and I'll take you out to dinner to make up for my rudeness." Wow. Her counterattack caught me off guard. In my defense, I didn't have time to think it through. In fact, logic would have rejected the idea like a flame from the Hindenburg airship. But men are men, and deep down, we all want to be seen in the company of a beautiful woman. It's like primitive DNA. And she was looking at me, waiting for an answer, a positive answer. I was outplayed and defeated. I'm Schmo, not even Joe, remember? My brain was spinning. I didn't have any clothes suitable for the place where she and her friends hung out. I couldn't afford it, neither the clothes nor the dinner. And worst of all, her friends would be there staring at the piece of shit she had brought home. The giggles, the looks, the pointing. I had been through it all before. Not just no, but hell no. But her eyes looked really sincere. Then my genius mind came up with a solution. Only if it's McDonald's. That would reveal her intentions. At McDonald's, she couldn't humiliate me. It was my turf. She would look out of place, and everyone would look down on her. It would ruin all her plans to get back at me for humiliating her with my impromptu speech. I had to offer her a way out that would save her face so we could end this charade and go our separate ways. But it's okay if you're a vegetarian or something. I didn't want to say, or don't want to be seen with common people. That would have been too much. Without hesitation, her face lit up. "Great. Will you pick me up or should I drive over?" I didn't want her to see where I lived. Jason, my roommate, was even worse than me. And the only thing that distinguished our apartment from a pigsty was the absence of live pigs. Since I know where you live, maybe I'll pick you up? How about 6? How about 5:30? I have something to do and I'll bring cash. I don't remember if I managed to hide my sigh of relief. This plan gave me time to take my little Toyota pickup to the car wash. Hey, I was going to get $350 for doing nothing so I could afford it just this once, and it took professional skills to remove a year's worth of dust and dirt. To say that dinner was a pleasant surprise would be an understatement. 3 hours later, she was Bren, and I was Stock. In love might be an exaggeration, but not by much. We were both giggling, finishing each other's sentences, and, well, you get the picture. Not love at first sight, but definitely at second chip. Surreal, totally surreal. Las Vegas would have gone bankrupt if it took bets on that. Long story short, I can see the smile on your face, dear reader. We got married about a year after college. She became a nurse, and I became a systems analyst. That's what they called us back then. We had 3 girls who made us happy and proud. All 3 went to college on athletic scholarships: softball, volleyball, and soccer. Hooray for Title IX. I also started my own company specializing in network security, which after a slow start became successful and provided us with a decent life. I have often marveled at this. Together we created a loving and successful fleet. And then it happened. A terrible feeling of emptiness came over the house. Looking back, I can say that it was only a matter of time. She worked with doctors, and as mentioned above, was the perfect queen of everything, and, at least to me, achiever. One day, I drove to the hospital to surprise her with lunch. As I pulled into the parking lot, I saw her and a tall, thin guy getting into a black BMW 7 Series. Ugh, my heart sank. You all know what too good to be true means. The question wasn't if it would happen, but when. I knew it. But I forgot. 20 wonderful years lulled me into a false sense of security. The happy anticipation on her face as she walked arm in arm with me was unmistakable. I knew my wife, and in the blink of an eye, I knew what was happening. Beautiful people all over the world crave adoration, and when it ends, it hurts like hell. When she married me, her love for me and then for our daughters hid her alienation, but the girl's departure left her alone with me. And any husband you've lived with for more than 20 years becomes like an old pair of slippers, comfortable, predictable, and just there. It's impossible to surround her with the new and exciting that people of her class crave. In my happy bubble of love and complacency, I forgot about that. But like the forgotten taste of vomit, it came back in an instant. In that expensive car, she had a rich, young, attractive guy who revived and satisfied her forgotten addiction. No wonder she clung to him like a drowning man to a lifebuoy. Since I had nothing else to do at the hospital, I turned around. At the next traffic light, I found myself right behind the black BMW. Was she taking him home? Damn it, yes. Her jerk boyfriend didn't know me or my pickup truck, but I kept a decent distance behind them and parked a few houses down from ours. He turned, and to my surprise, the garage door opened and they pulled into her spot. She must have grabbed the remote when she left the hospital. This definitely didn't look like a spontaneous first meeting. The door closed immediately, probably so the neighbors wouldn't notice a strange car in our garage. What was I supposed to do? Any confrontation with this jerk in my bed would land me, not him, in jail. My heart was beating like a garbage disposal, tearing our love to pieces and flushing them down the drain. With no plan, I drove further down our neighborhood and parked the car. Taking out the garage remote, I returned to the house. By this time, the two cheaters had probably already taken off their clothes and started their pleasant activities. Foreplay. I opened the front door as quietly as I could, took out my phone, and quietly climbed the stairs to our bedroom. I almost tripped over something. His pants. That slimy snake didn't even wait for us to get to the bedroom. The door was ajar, and the slurping sounds of lust left no doubt that they were in the thick of it. Only it wasn't the thick of it. You know what I mean. In the doorway, I turned on the video recording app on my phone and pressed it against the half-open door. On the screen, she was having fun with her new, last, boyfriend. It took all my self-control to leave with the evidence. On impulse, I pulled up his pants, hoping to find his wallet and ID. In a rage, I went to the garage, took a pair of surgical gloves from the shelf, put them on, and opened the door to his BMW. The keys were still in the ignition. I pressed the button to open the garage door. Because of the distance and the silent mechanism, they didn't hear it, especially since he was acting like a politician on a podium, extolling his own virtues. Reversing out, I left our neighborhood in his beautiful BMW. What a cool car. I understood why idiots pay so much money for it, and headed straight for a bad neighborhood. I'm sure the locals would appreciate this overrated marvel of German engineering. I rolled down all the windows and parked next to an open area where a few guys were playing basketball. I reached into the asshole's pants and pulled out his wallet. I took a picture of his driver's license with my phone. Dr. Richard Brennan. There were several $100s in cash in the wallet. Convenient. I took a stack of $100 bills, leaving the smaller bills for the hyenas so they could fill up on gas or buy something else. Then I left the wallet on the dashboard, in plain sight, and searched his pants pockets. Imagine my surprise when a thick clipboard with $5,000 fell out of his left pocket. The guy must love high-stakes poker or expensive escort girls. Did he pay Brenda? I shook my head. A good doctor, no, more likely a bad doctor, was probably rolling in the hay, thrilled that such a beauty had given herself to him for free. Putting my meager compensation for the stolen wife in my pocket, I took out my car keys, left them in the taxi, and walked away, taking all the other keys with me and throwing the gloves in a trash can on the way. After walking a considerable distance, I took a taxi to my truck, paid the asshole doctor in cash, and returned to work. To my surprise, there were no alarming calls from Brenda, so, just after 2, I called the hospital again and asked for her. It turned out she hadn't returned from lunch yet. I told my assistant that I was leaving early and headed home. I was dying of curiosity. What the hell did those bastards do when they found his car missing? How did he get back without his pants? When I got home, Brenda was in terrible shape. Pretending to be surprised, I asked, "What are you doing here?" trying to look as concerned as possible. I felt sick at work. One of the doctors drove me home. After making sure I was okay, he left. Then he discovered that someone had stolen his car from our garage. From our garage stock. This shouldn't have happened. We can't stay here. We need to move. I'm waiting for a burglar to jump out of the closet and rape me. I immediately went to the bathroom and came back with a thermometer. Without giving her time to react, I shoved it into her mouth. "Let's quickly check if you have a fever." Perhaps because of my determination, she waited a few minutes before I took the thermometer out. 36.5, I said. "That's perfectly normal. Remind me what your symptoms were." "What? What are you talking about? You said you felt so sick that you couldn't drive home and called a taxi. That means you had a fever, but now you don't. No one recovers from such a serious illness that quickly. So you didn't have a fever. What symptoms did you have?" Her face darkened. "Are you listening to me? I'm listening to you much more carefully than you think. You work in a hospital with hundreds of doctors and nurses, instruments, and medicines. If you were feeling unwell, the most logical thing to do would have been to ask a colleague to examine you. Taking you out of the hospital is the most illogical thing I can imagine. So, once again, what symptoms did you have?" Her frown turned to confusion. I don't remember," she stammered. "Next question. You said someone stole his car from our garage. How did his car end up in our garage? And why? Any normal person who gave you a ride home would have just dropped you off at your door and left. Are you saying you had time to go to your car and get the garage remote? Why would you need to do that? I'm curious. Why couldn't you drive home? You look perfectly fine, and it's only been an hour, maybe 2. So whatever was bothering you couldn't have been that serious." I kept pressing her, forcing her to come up with new lies, not giving her time to think. Besides, I interrupted, why did he park his car in our garage? Brenda, as I expected, decided to get out of the situation by attacking me. "What kind of interrogation is this? Don't you care that someone's car was stolen?" As I had done many years ago with the laptop, I remained unyielding. "Maybe, but it's much more important to me why that car was in the garage. Why are you avoiding the question? It's also important to me that I have a wife whom I suddenly don't trust, who tells me a ridiculous story about feeling sick when she's perfectly healthy. She's leaving the best place to treat her imaginary illness with another man who mysteriously parks in our garage. Who does that? Do you see why my lie detector is off the charts? Oh, right. Where's the hero doctor who brought you home? He had to take an Uber to get back to the hospital. Which raises another question. Why didn't you take an Uber home if you were too weak to drive? Under my stern gaze, she lowered her eyes. I have a migraine. I need to lie down. I climbed the stairs to our bedroom and she clutched her purse. She usually left it downstairs in the kitchen, but for some reason, her illness, she felt she needed to have it nearby. I decided I needed to stay close so she couldn't grab her phone and call her handsome Dr. Brennan to coordinate her lies. In the bedroom, I told her to change into her pajamas. When she turned away, I quickly grabbed her phone and shoved it into my pocket. Pulling back the sheets so she could get into bed, I froze. Brenda, these aren't the sheets I took off this morning. What did you do? Change the bedding? And if you're feeling so sick, why aren't you lying in your own bed? Her neck turned red. I threw up on the old sheets, so I put fresh ones on. Good catch. This woman could lie her way onto the U.S. Olympic team if lying were an Olympic sport. I continued. Where are the old sheets? I threw them in the trash. Okay, I'll wash them quickly before they soak the whole room. She hurried past me. No, don't worry about it. I already washed them. Don't rush. I can put them in the dryer tomorrow or tonight if I feel better. Nonsense. You're sick, and it's the least a caring husband can do for his wife. Get into bed. Would you like me to make you a cup of tea? Or would you prefer something stronger to kill the germs? Thanks, but water will be fine. I left, but stayed on the stairs to see what she would do when she discovered her phone was missing. Imagine my surprise when I heard her talking on the phone. We had long since given up our landline, so I quietly turned and went to our bedroom. She was sitting on her side of the bed, facing the wall, with another phone to her ear. I'm not sure, she said in a loud whisper. He seems to suspect something, but I think I managed to calm him down. Did you find the car? Oh, a rental? That'll do. Listen, I have to hang up. He's about to be back. She opened her purse and slipped the second phone into the zippered side pocket. My heart sank lower than I could have imagined. This was a full-blown affair, organized like a military operation, not just a casual one-night stand. I returned with the water and found her lying in bed under the covers, pretending to be sick again. As I left, I turned so that I was standing between her and her purse. Then I grabbed the purse and quickly left, holding it away from me. At the bottom of the stairs, I put the purse on the table where she always put it when she came home. Unzipping the side pocket, I found a second phone, a cheap, disposable one. Opening it, I saw that there was only one contact in it. Her hero, the doctor. What a mess. Without wasting any time, I left and hid in a temple of expensive coffee. Leafing through Brenda's phone, I saw that there was no trace of my love left, and all my hopes evaporated at the sight of the endless list of messages. I emailed myself all the correspondence, then sat down and wondered what to do next. My fairy tale was over. All my happiness was in the past, and there was nothing left for the future. At first, I thought it was too good to be true. 20 years of happy life had lulled me into a false sense of security. Today, it was as if someone had shaken me awake. It was true. I really wasn't good enough for the queen of everything. I took out my smartphone and found Dr. Richard Brennan online. Not surprisingly, he was married with 2 teenage children and a stay-at-home wife. Once I found his address, I decided to share what I knew. I knocked on her door, gave her Brenda's phone number, the flash drive with the video I had taken, and my business card, then turned and left. Call me if you have any questions. 10 minutes later, an unfamiliar number called me. Hello? Mr. Stokes, this is Karen Brennan. If you're not far away, could you come back so we can talk? She opened the door without waiting for me to ring the bell, her eyes red from crying. Without saying a word, she stepped aside. It felt strange to walk into a stranger's living room and sit down. She sat down next to me on the sofa, still sobbing. Mr. Stokes, when did you take this? My friends call me Stokey. Karen, so when? A couple of hours ago. I'm sorry I took it out on you, but you understand how shocked and hurt I was when I saw it. Not to mention the lies my wife told me. She nodded. I understand. That cheating woman. It's not the first time. I'm so sorry. She sniffed. It's not your fault. What are you going to do? Get a divorce. It's inevitable. I can never trust her again. What about you? Same thing. She sighed. It's going to be a terrible blow for the kids, but I don't see any other way out. I'm so sorry. Do you know a good divorce lawyer? I don't, but my sister does. I'll call her and let you know. Do you want to wait for Rick to come back and talk to him here? That's a great idea. Maybe I'll provoke him into attacking me. If he does, film it on your phone. But first I need to do something. I'll wait outside and keep an eye on him. I drove a few blocks and went to work. First, I called the realtor and made an appointment to list the house for sale the next day. Then I went online, logged into my bank account, and divided all the money. The phone rang, and the display showed Carmen Gillespie, our neighbor across the street. Hi, Carm. What's going on? Hi, Stock. The guy in the black BMW just picked up Brenda. I thought it looked suspicious, so I thought I'd let you know. What a good neighbor. Thanks, Carm. Someone must have come to pick up Brenda from the hospital and take her home. Do you know what model the BMW was? Interesting. Thanks for letting me know. Did you notice anything else? No, that's all. He didn't stay long. I wonder how she got home if she doesn't have a car. Are you sure it's not in the garage? No, I'm not sure of anything anymore. But thanks for letting me know. Can I call you later? I've got things to do. No problem. You've got my number. Karen sent me a text with the contact details of a divorce lawyer and added, I made an appointment for tomorrow at 10. After thanking her, I called my business lawyer, who confirmed that the trust fund that owned my company was inaccessible because it was registered in Luxembourg. When I asked him if he knew Greta Delaney, the divorce lawyer, he whistled. Even sharks stay away from her. You're in good hands. Finally, I saw the Black 3 Series slow down and stop outside the Brennan house. I waited until he entered the front door, pulled up, and rang the doorbell. Karen opened the door and stepped aside to let me in. Who the hell are you? Rick growled. What the hell are you doing in my house? Hi, Rick. I just wanted to meet the bastard who's sleeping with my wife. Karen got her phone ready and giggled, covering her mouth with her hand, while Rick's face turned red with rage. Who the hell are you? Oh, so you've been sleeping with several married women? You need to know which one came to laugh at you? Get out of my house before I kill you, he growled and lunged at me. He swung so awkwardly that I managed to dodge him, and he only grazed me. Seeing that he was attacking, I carefully tripped him as he flew past me. I managed to land 2 blows to his kidneys before he collapsed to the floor. I quickly moved behind him and delivered 3 powerful kicks to his family jewels. The pain caused him to curl up in a fetal position. I leaned over him and said so Karen couldn't hear me on the phone, That's what happens when you sleep with a married woman, you useless bastard. Karen smiled and slapped my fist. That was cool. I'll send you the video. I hugged her and left. When I got home, Brenda's car was in the garage, and everything was normal. She must have opened the garage with the keypad because her remote was still in my car after I took it out of Rick's stupid BMW. She was sweet and affectionate at home. Welcome home. I feel much better. Would you like me to order dinner? It took me a few seconds to realize that without her phone, she probably had no idea what was going on outside. I still had her regular phone in my pocket. I had completely forgotten about it. She couldn't have called anyone. How did you get to your car? I asked. When I felt better, I called an Uber. Another lie. Completely calm. How could she have called when I had one phone and her lover's wife had the other? I couldn't live with someone who lied so easily and convincingly. She had finally dispelled all my doubts. The next day, I met with Karen, the wife of this womanizing doctor, at a lawyer's office. How's Dick today? I asked with a smirk. He's not in a good mood. He called the police and accused you of assault. They came to his house, and after his exaggerated description, they were ready to arrest you. Then I showed them the video, which clearly showed that he started the fight, and you stopped after a few punches when you realized you weren't in any danger. The police asked how we knew each other, and I smiled and said, My husband slept with this guy's wife, and he wanted to talk to him. For some reason, that changed everything. They put away their notebooks, smiled, and drove away. Rick left and checked into a motel when I told him it was over. Now let's break up. Greta Delaney, a divorce lawyer, lived up to her reputation. It turned out that Ricky Dickey had slept with another hospital employee, this time unmarried, who had given birth to his son. Child support and alimony payments significantly reduced his salary. On top of that, he had a loan on his stolen 7 Series car, which he had to pay off because he had left the keys in the ignition, giving the insurance company grounds to deny coverage, and they didn't pay. On top of that, he had to pay off a loan for a stolen 7 Series car because he had left the car unlocked with the keys in the ignition, which gave the insurance company a reason not to pay a cent. The good news for him was that the few blows I dealt to his family jewels rendered him incapable of having children, which saved him from future alimony payments. Brenda was a little luckier. Since she had a job, she didn't receive alimony. We sold our house and were able to afford a down payment on something more modest, so despite her infidelity, she came out of the situation better than she deserved. I decided she was good enough for men to line up to date her, and that's how it turned out. However, no man wanted to risk a long-term relationship with her, and years later she was still single, working, and going on dates. Her face no longer set sail, and her body no longer set fleets afloat. Lonely, Desperate Queen was the last title in her royal career. It took me several years, but I finally met someone in my circle of friends who shared my interests and values, and we began to live a happy and joyful life. But that's another story. Maybe one day you'll read it in the romance section.